Hello YouTube, this is a Satsu5 and this is a review over this knife right here, the Cold Steel AD15. Got the Cold Steel AD10 for comparison, and well, I also have the Cold Steel 4 Max, which pretty much dwarfs both of them. But I'm not going to talk too much about the 4 Max. I think I already have a review on it, but this is kind of the eldest son in the series. This came out first. This is the first gen 4 Max. They came out with another 4 Max, then these two knives. So I just wanted to show you that there is a size difference. That's the only reason I got the 4 Max. But other than that, the AD10 and AD15 are very similar. They're both S35VN 3.5 inch blades, and the real big difference is the handles and the grinds. The AD10 is a hollow grind. The AD15 is a flat grind. You get a scorpion lock with the AD15, and you get a triad lock with the AD10. And the review is mostly over the AD15. This is my personal knife right here. This is my brother's. And we got these knives around the same time, and I kind of have some, like, I guess I'm a little bit envious of Matthew's AD10. This is a cool knife, don't get me wrong, but when you handle the two knives, there's a pretty big difference in the smoothness of the knives. You can open this one up with your pointer finger and it's comfortable, and you know, when you press the lock, it just kind of falls closed. So this is a lot smoother. And also, I'm a really big fan of the G10. It's a smooth G10, has kind of a wood grain to it. To me, this is a very attractive knife. It's not my knife. I haven't necessarily carried it. It's just that when me and my brother get new knives, you know, we handle each other's knives, and you know, we draw comparisons. You know, we do testing together. But I was very impressed with the AD10. I got the AD15 because it's different. It has a scorpion lock, and I wanted to test out this concept. I actually have a custom knife coming in the mail that has some very similar features to this. It's a ventana lock, or window lock, but I got this, and I was a little disappointed. You can open this with your pointer finger, but it's painful. It's noticeably stiffer, and it's not very comfortable at all. And they have the same thumb studs as well, so this one just has a stronger detent and spring. And when I first got this, I didn't quite know how to use it. You know, I knew how to open it, and even opening it with your thumb is considerably more difficult than the AD10, in my opinion. But I didn't know how to close the knife, so I was like trying to use my thumb, and it kind of works, but it's using just one thumb. It doesn't really disengage the lock that well. So I find that using your thumb and pointer finger, grabbing the scorpion tail, if you will, and then pressing on the spine of the blade with your pointer finger opens the knife, closes the knife very easily, and you can actually close it relatively simply, if that's even a word. But yeah, it has a fidget factor, and this does too. But something that I noticed, if you're the kind of person that likes to fidget with your knives, and I'm a fidgeter, I never owned a fidget spinner, but I am a fidgeter. You know, if you ask any of my coworkers, people that know me, I'm constantly twirling pins, you know, playing with my knife, or I'm constantly like fidgeting with something. So that's another reason why I got this knife, because I hear it was a good fidgeter. But there's something that I also noticed. When you close the knife, sometimes your finger will rub up against this cutout for the triad lock, or the scorpion lock. So it's not necessarily sharp but and I might have polished it with my own finger over time. It can be irritating at some points. And it's kind of funny, me and a viewer were talking about this knife, and he was commenting about how I have real-world applicable testing videos, and he's not much of a fidgeter, but that's basically what comes down to this knife is its fidgeting ability. And it does fidget. It's just comparing it to the AD10, I think the AD10 is a much more comfortable knife to fidget with and carry and use. Something that I really don't care for is the texturing on the G10 handle scales. It's kind of rough, and the pocket clip lies right on top of that. So when you put it in and out of your pocket, you know, it's going to put more wear and tear on your pocket as well. And you can kind of notice that the ridges on the G10. I do like the, I don't know if you can see this, but the Scorpion lock has some lines on it, some milled texturing, and I do like that. But to me, the reason why I decided to get the AD15, because in general, I like knives that have good tip control. Where's my other knife that I was going to reference? Can't find it at the moment. There it is. It was right behind me. But I like good tip control. I like having either a neutral or Warncliffe or neutral tip. And this is good for just popping up open packages, envelopes and stuff. This is the holdout. Really like this knife. You know, that's why I like the tip control, is because for most EDC purposes, you just pop the package open, and it's very easy to open up stuff. But my brother got the 4MAX, and on paper, when I looked at the 4MAX, I was like, man, I don't like that knife at all, because it doesn't have good tip control. It has a lot of belly and stuff, and I just don't see it working as well as some of my other knives like the Endura. But after he got this, I was very impressed, because it's well ground, very sharp, and it opens envelopes and boxes and stuff just as good as, you know, the Endura or the holdout or the Yojimbo. It works great. If you keep it sharp, it's a very good knife for opening things, which is good, because that's usually what I'm doing with my knife. That and cutting weed eater string and food and such. But so after handling the 4MAX, I wanted an Andrew Dibko design with this kind of drop point blade, and so I decided to get the AD15. My brother decided to get the AD10, and I must say I'm just as impressed with the blade itself as with the 4MAX. Like I said, well ground, very sharp. It opens things up very nicely. I'm glad that the jimping isn't too aggressive, but I'd prefer it not have the jimping. To me, this isn't a tactile knife. In general, when it comes to these tactile EDC knives, like the holdout or the Yojimbo, I'm mostly using them for utility tasks. I don't carry them for self-defense, but usually I'll carry like one of these knives in my EDC pack as a backup knife. And what I mean by that is I carry a knife with me everywhere I go, but sometimes I forget to bring a knife. For whatever reason, I didn't get enough sleep last night, I'm late to work, I might forget to bring a knife. So I'll put either this one, or whatever knife is a tactile EDC knife. It's not built for you know, serious use like this one, but I like my backup knife to have a locking mechanism and to be able to be put into a tactical use, even though I don't want to use like this knife for tactical use. I prefer to have a 5.5-inch photo or you know, a XL Espada. But if I forget a tactical knife, or if I forget a knife, I want my backup knife that's in my pack to be strong enough to defend myself. So usually, you know, in my pack is something like this that works great for both EDC, but can be put into a tactical role. And Yojimbo is kind of my go-to when I'm carrying this 357 Magnum. I don't feel the need to carry as big of a knife, so I might carry this or that. But it just so happens that when I carry the 357, that this usually makes an appearance as my knife for the day. But yeah, usually I kind of tend to want to EDC these types of knife with great tip control, but with this big belly and as sharp as it is and as well ground as it is, it does everything that these knives can do. Maybe not as good, but it's comparable. The pocket clip is reversible or swappable. This has S35VN. This is my first experience with S35VN. So far, I've been very pleased with it. I haven't quite used this knife to dead dull yet. I have used it quite a bit, but it seems to hold its edge relatively well. And it hasn't rusted on me. I mean, I don't see any rust on it. And I've used this to cut food. Everything from apples to, you know, steak. And I've been very pleased with it. I guess that's the main point I want to make on this video, is that I'm pleased with it. But hindsight, I wish I would have got the AD10. To me, the AD10 is much more comfortable in the hand. It feels nice. It's like, man, that's very, very nice. But it's smooth. It doesn't have a lot of hot spots on it, and yeah, it's smooth. It doesn't have hot spots. It's not only smooth on the handle, which is not going to tear up your pants as much. It also has a smoother locking mechanism. So, you know, I might have to get me one of these here in the future. I'm pleased with this, but I'm super impressed with the AD10. So I don't know if you would call this a double feature review, because this is my knife. This is a knife that I've carried for the past month, basically. And this is my brother's knife, and I just played with it. I haven't actually carried it and used it, but this one is just much more pleasing to hold in the hand. So this one has hot spots and rough edges and sharp edges. You can play with it. It does open and close relatively quickly, but it is more painful to open because it has a stronger detent. But that's it. That's the basic review. Again, this one is silky smooth, just how the Zohan likes it. And that's it. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.